Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Ohio.
The Brewers got aggressive early against Danny Salazar, scoring 3 runs in the first 2 innings. That was enough, because once again the Indians struggled with runners in scoring position, hitting into 4 rally-killing double plays. Cody Anderson has made 4 starts this season, and he has yet to allow more than a single run in any of them. He'll get a crack at the Red Hot Brew Crew next on Sports Time Ohio. It is a picture-perfect day here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as the Cleveland Indians look for a split in their brief 2-game series against the Brewers here at Miller Park. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Back on June 21st, you could say that Milwaukee hit rock bottom. They fell 21 games below 500. Since then, they've gone 17-6, which is the second-best record in all of baseball. And, Rick, while this team will not make anyone in these parts of the country forget Harvey's Wallbangers or Bambi's Bombers, Council's crew is getting it done with offense.
Well, if there's anything we learned last night, these guys come to the plate to hit. They will jump and seek that first fastball they get. They're not afraid to swing at it. They did damage last night on the first pitch. So if you're going to go at them with a fastball, you better locate it well, or you have to start changing your pitches and maybe throw a few off-speed pitches. Because in the last 17 games, they're averaging 6 runs. That's going to win a lot of ball games. They're hitting for a high average, 34 doubles, 20 home runs, and this is a good ballpark for them to hit in. So they're firing on all cylinders right now, and their bullpen has been very good. You know, the key is for them is the starting pitching. And
they've got a veteran, Kyle Loesch, on the hill today. The Indians, other end of the spectrum, the rookie Cody Anderson gets the start. And when we come back, Andre Knott joins us to talk about Cody's early success in the big leagues. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Beautiful day here in Milwaukee. Roof is open, sunshine, a few clouds overhead. But all in all, just about ideal as the Indians and the Brewers put the wraps on this brief 2-game series. The Indians looking for a split. They'll turn to Cody Anderson, who has been just dynamite in his first 4 starts here at the big league level, giving up 3 earned runs total in those 4 starts. Let's go down to Andre Knott. I mean, not bad for a guy who started the year at Double-A.
No doubt, Matt. You look at his year so far for Cody Anderson, and because of that, because he started at Double-A, moved up to Triple-A, he hasn't pitched since July 9th. There's not a lot of worry in the Indians clubhouse about him, though. He's had a couple bullpens where he's kept himself in shape and kept himself ready. But if you remember back on that start in July 9th, they pulled him after about 70-some pitches. They're being very careful with his arm because he hasn't pitched deep into the year. And Terry Francona told me, look, we plan on him pitching into September and further along. So they don't worry about this long layover that he's had. But he did tell me last night after watching this Milwaukee team, he knows he has to be precise with first pitches, and the changeup will be his key pitch today to keep these Brewer hitters off balance because they attacked the fastball yesterday against Danny Salazar.
Well, the most impressive thing for Anderson for me is he has such great control. He's out there, he's aggressive, he attacks the strike zone, which you have to do. Now, whether these Brewers are going to be out there and swinging aggressive, just don't put it down the middle of the plate. The changeup will be effective. He's 2-1. And, boy, he's gone out there. He's taken the team deep into the ball game. Every time he's been out there, at least 6 2/3 innings in every start. He's been a treat to watch, and I hope he stays around for the rest of the year to pitch.
Well, and the big picture that Andre is referring to is the fact that 2 years ago he pitched 136 innings. Last year, 125 2/3 innings. So you don't want to jump him suddenly up to 180, 190, 200 innings.
Right.
But that's something that they'll have to keep a very close eye on as we go down the stretch. It's Cody Anderson against the Milwaukee Brewers. Anderson has been very stingy. He's only allowed 17 hits in his 30 innings of work. Doesn't walk many, only 3. But these Brewers are swinging the bats right now. It'll be a good matchup. Play-by-play is next. Quickly take a look at the Indians starting lineup today for Terry Francona, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis in the leadoff spot had 2 hits last night, including a double. Francisco Lindor bats second, and Michael Brantley is third. David Murphy, Carlos Santana, and Yan Gomes in the middle. Brandon Moss, Giovanni Urshela in the picture. Cody Anderson will bat ninth.
And our Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher Kyle Loesch, 36 years old, making start number 20. He scuffled this year. He's 5-10 with a .617 earned run average. 21 home runs allowed for Loesch. and 128 hits, but he's a control guy. He changes speeds and he'll, move it in and out. So he's got to stay out of the middle of the plate.
First pitch is in there for a strike. Missed inside with it. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Close 8-9 in his career against the Indians in 18 starts. He beat the Indians in his last game against the Tribe. He was a Cardinal. They won 2-0 at Busch Stadium. That coming back on June 9th of 2012.
Drops a breaking ball in for a strike. So far, and we've still got a little over a week to go in the month of July, but Jason Kipnis batting .242. And he bangs this one down the line, but it's going to hook foul. Still, even with that slight dip in what he has done this year, he is 3rd overall in batting average, trailing Miguel Cabrera and Prince Fielder. Of course, Cabrera's on the DL, and he will be there probably for at least another month. So eventually he's going to fall out because he won't have enough plate appearances. Kipnis fouls this one straight back.
Well, it's hard to keep the pace up that Jason Kipnis held for the month of May and June. 51 hits.
Unless your name's Ted Williams.
Right. And I mean, you can't. 51 hits, and then he had over 34 hits in June. It's just tough to keep it up. He has had a very consistent, solid approach at the plate, leading off, staying within himself, taking what the pitchers give you. That's why he's leading the league in doubles. Let's check out that Brewers defense, brought to you by Chrysler. It's Davis gets the start in left. It's Gomez at center, Parra in right. Ramirez at third, Segura in short, Gannett at second, Lind at first, Luke Roy doing the catching.
Umpires today: Mark Carlson behind the dish, Ryan Blackney, Trip Gibson, and the crew chief Brian Gorman is at third. Loesch the wide on the 2-2. Strike 3 called.
Well, it's a pitch he paints on the outside corner. And it's sitting right there. That's a pretty good pitch, right on the edge. They were calling that pitch last night. You can see that's a pitcher's pitch and a perfect pitch.
Francisco Lindor 0 for 4 last night. Swing and a miss. Way out in front of it.
Well, that's what you're going to see from Loesch. He'll add, subtract, move it in, move it out. He has to stay away from the middle of the plate. When he gets too much of it, he will give up the long ball.
Shows him the high fastball.
Change the eye level to maybe try and get the young hitter out on a changeup or an off-speed pitch, and he did come back to it.
Now the 2-2. Shot for the same outside corner pitch that he rung up Kipnis with, but that one was just a little bit off the mark. So now a full count for Lindor, and the payoff pitch is hit hard to deep right field. Parra on the move, looking up. Goodbye. It's a home run for Francisco Lindor, his 3rd of the season, and he puts the Indians on top early, 1-0.
Well, he went in and he got too much of the plate there, and Lindor made him pay. Nice short, quick swing.
I like the way, Rick, he bounces back after what was a tough night for him last night. Committed a costly error. He owned up to it after the ball game, but boy, he comes right back first at bat, and he socks one out of here.
Yeah, Loesch, he made a mistake with a breaking ball, left it middle of the plate. Speeds up the bat of Francisco, and he hits the home run.
And now 22 home runs allowed by Loesch. You pointed that out at the outset, Rick. That's been a problem for Loesch. And, you know, I guess it's nothing really new. You look back at his career and his days with the Twins. Granted, those were the days of the Metrodome where the ball did tend to fly. But he's given up 28 homers, 28, 26.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't matter. You give up home runs. A lot of them are solo shots. When you make mistakes and you're a starting pitcher that goes out there, it's one hit, it's one run, and you get back to work. It's when you get guys on base, you give up a hit or a walk, and then you give up the bomb. That's trouble.
Well, the Indians with a chance to play from in front today in the 2-0 pitch to Brantley. And he smacks it behind the back. Diving stop by Lynn. And Loesch is there to take the feed for out number 2.
See, that wasn't smart hitting by Michael. Yesterday, he hit it a little softer, gave it a chance to hit first base and get a base hit. This time, Adam Lynn makes a nice play to take a hit away.
He's got to work on his finesse.
Yeah, right.
Keys to the game brought to you by Wayside Furniture. The hit with runners in scoring position. Kind of an obvious one for the Indians. They have not been able to do it much of late. And this is a Brewers team that offensively they're very aggressive. They get after the fastball. Loesch starts David Murphy off with the first pitch curveball for strike 1. And he's got him quickly in the hole. 0-2. .36-year-old Kyle Loesch made his major league debut for Minnesota back in 2001. Strike 3 called. Couple of Ks for Loesch. But Francisco Lindor knocks one out of the park. And the Indians lead it 1-0. All right, Craig Counsell's starting lineup for the Brewers is presented by Toyota. Gerardo Parra will lead it off. Then it's Jonathan Lucroy. Carlos Gomez hitting third. Adam Lynn bats cleanup. Aramis Ramirez batting fifth. Chris Davis sixth. Gene Segura red hot and homered last night. That's seventh. Scooter Gennett hitting eighth, and Kyle Loesch, the pitcher, will bat ninth.
And Cody Anderson is our Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher. The 24-year-old making his 5th career start. First one against the Brewers. His first 2 came against Tampa. He went 7 2/3 innings and not allowed a run. Went 8 innings, allowed 1 run. Then went on to pitch at Pittsburgh, gave up 8 innings and 1 run. And then coming off his last start, which was about 12 days ago against Houston, 6 2/3 innings, allowed just 1 run, and he got his 2nd win. So we'll see early in the ball game if the command that he has, I think, would be the thing to watch.
Pitch outside.
You know, last night when we watched Salazar come at it, you could tell that he had extra rest by the way he was throwing to the ball. You know, he was up at 96, 97 in inning number 1, where he's usually at 93, 94.
Swinging a foul back. There's Salazar, who, by all accounts, pitched well last night.
He pitched great. Gave up the 2 hits, and that was it. And then, of course, in the National League Park, he would have been back out there had he not had to go up and hit. And the Indians, you know, they were behind in the game. They had to try and get some offense going, so he had to come out. They went to the bullpen. McAllister came up and didn't retire a batter, and that's when they put the game out of reach.
Anderson's 1-2 to Parra. Went down and golfed at the left, and nice running catch by David Murphy for out number 1.
And let's check that Indians defense, which is brought to you by Chrysler. And it was David Murphy in left who just made that play. Brantley gets the start in center, Moss over in right. Urshela at third, Lindor at short, Kipnis at second, Santana at first, and Gomes behind the plate. And you know the amazing thing, the defense for the Indians is much better. They've only made 50 errors, but they've allowed 43 unearned runs on those 50 errors, which is crazy. That's a lot. 3rd most in baseball.
Jonathan Lucroy, 0 for 5 last night. So does that tell you, what does that tell you, that 43 unearned? Is that the pitchers not picking up the defense?
Yes, I think that could be part of it. And when they make a mistake, it's the other clubs make them pay. When you're not scoring runs, you cannot afford to give up any runs, but 43 extra runs is a boatload. And the defense has been better, but they've taken advantage of every time that the Indians make an error, and it's been a lot better this year.
Yeah, I guess if you look at that, what does that mean? That's roughly every other game they're giving up an unearned run.
Right.
And when you're not scoring, you're right. That's a lot to overcome.
It sure is.
Just missed outside. 2 balls and a strike. And Lucroy fouls it off the other way. Lucroy 3 hits in his last 16 at-bats. Anderson tried to get him to chase. He wouldn't do it. Full count. And the payoff. Bouncing ball up the middle. It's through.
Hit that ball right out in front of the plate. And perfect spot.
Our window system's game time temperature 82 degrees. You know, it's an enclosed ballpark, obviously, with the retractable roof, but the way it's configured, those areas in the outfield, that's open.
Right.
So the air will move through, but it's hard to gauge if the wind is ever really a factor in this ballpark.
I wouldn't know. I know one thing. A lot of times when you see highlights coming out of this ballpark, it's on home runs. And there's a lot of balls that are hit out of this ballpark, and they can go a long way.
Carlos Gomez walked 3 times last night. Also had an RBI single. One on one to count.
There have been 124 homers hit in this yard. It's the most in the majors. So I would say it does. The wind's not going to knock it down.
Yeah,
that's safe to say.
He tried to hold up, but he went around.
He said Gomez walked 3 times last night. That got him to 21. He's a guy that he doesn't like to take many. He likes to swing the bat. And this is a pitch that Cody's going to need today, the changeup, to keep these aggressive Milwaukee hitters off balance.
Same pitch, got him.
Yeah, that was.
Strikes him out 2 down.
Acts like he didn't swing, but I think it still was a strike anyway. Good pitch. He goes down and in right there, and he comes up. If anything, it was a little low, but that was an excellent pitch. Just in off the plate.
Adam Lynn will be the batter with 1 on and 2 out here in the first. Lynn 1 for 4 with an RBI last night. And Cody Anderson gets ahead with a fastball for a strike. It's been par for the course for Anderson.
Well, he
has
has
the strike zone, get ahead.
He doesn't walk many, and that's right. That's the ultimate right there. The big man, he just continues. You don't give many hitters counts where they can sit back and look at anything and swing it.
Out in front of it. There's no way he could keep that ball fair. He was so far out in front. Lynn never left his toe hold in the batter's box. He knew all the way that was not going to stay fair. Oh, and 2 the count. That's hit pretty well. Right center field, and it is gone. That's that spot in right center field where the wall seems to jut in, and the ball always has seemed to jump to that spot in this yard.
Well, it jumped off his bat. I will say that it was looked like a nothing changeup to me, where Cody just left this one and it really didn't have any movement to it. Look at it. It just stayed right there, middle of the plate. And the extension from Lynn, he's usually a guy that tries to take you the other way. And that changeup speeds up his bat. And back comes Milwaukee with a pair on the 2-out, 2-run homer.
And a fastball for a strike to Aramis Ramirez. Darnell Coles, the hitting coach, congratulating Lynn on his 16th home run of the year. Now the 1-1. Aramis Ramirez in his final season in baseball. He announced earlier that he will retire at the end of the year. Broken back to center field. That'll drop for a hit. Chris Davis will be the batter now for Milwaukee as Gomes went out for a quick chat. Our Kia in the driver's seat shows that Cody Anderson in his first 4 starts has thrown a ton of strikes. And he's been, for the most part, very efficient.
Well, that's how you're able to pitch deep into every ball game or every start that he has had, is that he is a strike throwing machine. He has a number of innings where he can get out of there with double digits or less. I'm talking 12 pitches or less.
Chris Davis with a foul right back.
The Lucroy hit was hit right out in front of the plate. The mistake by Lynn. And he got inside on Ramirez. It jammed him, but he got it in front of Ramirez. So the one mistake was Lynn. That was the changeup.
Got him out in front, 0-2. Chris Davis is 27 years old. But last year, his first full season in the big leagues. Play to the right. Davis was a former 7th round pick of Milwaukee back in 09. His first full minor league season, he hit 22 home runs in A-ball. I feel like he's got good power potential. Hit 22 home runs in the big leagues last year. Another base hit. Milwaukee is red hot right now. They are hitting everything in sight. That's their 4th hit in the inning.
Well, he kept his hands back. This pitch is upstairs as well. Watch, Matt. And I think it might have been the cutter. That was not that bad of a pitch. It was off the plate. May have been upstairs a little bit, but look at the swing. He was fooled on the pitch. His hands were back. So that's already 4 knocks.
Gene Segura to the plate. Segura snapped a string last night. His last 38 hits had been singles. And before the game, he was telling his teammates, man, I need an extra base hit. I got to get a double or a home run or something. Well, first swing he took, he connected for a 2-run homer.
It looked like he was swinging for the fences from swing number 1.
He was tired of the singles. But after the home run, his next 2 hits were singles.
Yeah, I watched the fastball in last night. Boom, turned on. Got the barrel head of that back to the baseball in a hurry. So that streak came to an end at 38.
That's why there was the reaction you saw. 1-0 pitch. He was hard again, wasn't he? Well, he's got 2 on and 2 out here in the first inning. And what has turned into a lengthy one now for Cody Anderson. Threw it by him, and it's 1-2. You can hear Charlie Manuel whispering, "Know thyself."
Yeah, well, yeah, you swing a little hard. This kid's not a home run hitter. When sometimes, I remember Frank Howard, who was the hitting coach here in Milwaukee, used to say, "Oh my God, don't you hit a home run because you'll be swinging for the fences for the next 2 weeks. You'll go into a slump."
Gomes couldn't hang on to the foul tip.
You know, when the little guys hit them, they want to hit more because it's fun. They get to jog. That sometimes is a bad thing. But the Brewers as a team, as we showed you in the open, averaging 6 runs a ball game over their last 17.
Tried to ring him up with a fastball, but just missed him. It's 2-2.
You know, you have to take into consideration, too, this is the first time that Anderson has faced these guys, and these guys, their first look at Cody. But they're not shy.
And a full count. And, you know, regardless of the motives, you have to wonder if the layoff has had any effect adversely on Cody Anderson.
Sure it does. They get out of their rhythm, and I don't care what you say, oh, they're stronger or whatever. It takes them a while to get back into rhythm when you're talking game situation. You can throw on the side, you can simulate all you want. It's not game ready.
Base hit right field. Ramirez coming around third. He's going to try to score. Moss is thrown to the plate, and Gomes can't get the tag on him. A two-out RBI single for Gene Segura, and it's now 3-1 Milwaukee. As Ramirez coming around third, it wasn't a slam dunk he was going to score.
No, he's he does not run well, but by the time Gomes could get the ball, he sees that Ramirez is going to be past him. So Gomes' throw is a little bit up the line. If it was closer to home plate, they would have had a chance. So they are making Anderson really work hard to get through this first inning. As you see, he goes by. Gomes could not get the arm out. The throw just a little too far up the third base line. So it is 4 consecutive hits after the home run by Lynn. His home run and then 3 singles to follow.
Yeah, how often do we talk about a home run being sort of a rally killer sometimes? Well, not today. Craig Counsell has his club playing inspired baseball. They are 17-6 since June the 23rd. Only the Angels have a better record in all of baseball over that time frame. Now they had hit rock bottom a couple of days before that when they went to 21 games under 500 for the year, but rather than continue to slide, they picked themselves up. See Austin Adams getting loose in Cleveland's bullpen. Scooter Gennett, the 8th man to bat in the inning. 3-1 Milwaukee leads it, and Cody Anderson misses low, ball 1. You know a team is going well offensively when they're pounding the mistakes, which all good hitters have to do, but they're also hitting good pitches and getting base hits.
Yeah, they have a couple times in this inning. There's no question about it. They put the bat to the baseball, and they had a couple of fall in.
To left field, Murphy drifting back and makes the catch shy of the track to end the inning. But Milwaukee comes out swinging in the first. A 2-run homer from Adam Lynn, and they lead it 3-1.
Back in 2015 with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcast, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Cody Anderson banged around a little bit here in the opening frame. 3 runs on 5 hits. 8 men went to the plate. So we go to the second, and Carlos Santana will lead it off for the Cleveland Indians. He was 1 for 2 last night with a couple of walks. Very quietly, Carlos Santana is having his best month of the season, coming in with a .280 average here in July. He's gone 14 for 50 with a homer and 6 RBIs in the 16 games played. Now coming in is the third baseman Ramirez, and his throw is not in time. So Santana, he's tried numerous times to do that. This time he succeeds by beating the shift for a bunt single.
Well, and you're leading the inning off. That's the perfect time to do it. And we'll watch Santana. He puts the ball down before he starts to run. He really did this one much better. I don't know if he's been working on that at any point or time in the cages or on the field. But, you know, when they're giving you a base hit that way, you see how hard you can hit it. You just make sure you get it on the ground. And Carlos did, so you start the inning off. That's well done.
Now here is Yan Gomes. Gomes was 1 for 4 last night with a double and a run scored, but that only told part of the story. He's swinging the bat right now, I think, as well as he has all season long. Because if you remember last night, the outs that he made, he flew out the deep center. He line drive to right field. It was caught. Looks like he's finally found his rhythm at the dish. He's picked up a hit now in 4 straight games.
He smoked a 2-0 double yesterday in his first at bat.
Takes a strike. Saturday in Cincinnati, he launched a mammoth home run to the upper deck in left field. Way outside, 3-1. Brandon Moss waits on deck.
It was the double play ball that hurt the Indians yesterday. They hit into 4 of them.
Ball 4. So Loesch, after the bunt single by Santana, walks Gomes. 2 on, nobody out for Brandon Moss.
And, you know, Santana got the inning started here with a nice bunt hit going the other way. Watch, he just sits there and beautiful. Had the barrel of the bat out in front of home plate. Didn't try and do too much with it. There you go. Just push it that way. He stayed in the batter's box. And that was the key. Then you start running. And by that time, Ramirez, by the time he comes up with it, Santana beats it out, and that's all you need. Now a walk, and you have first and second, nobody out.
Moss was victimized not once but twice in the game last night by the double play ball. Yeah, I think what's really perplexing to Terry Francona is that it's not a matter of, well, they're just too aggressive. They've drawn, I think, more walks than anybody with runners in scoring position this year.
Yeah,
so they're still
were 120.
But it seems like when they swing, it's the most inopportune time. As Michael Bourne said last night, he said, right now it seems like when I should take, I swing. When I swing, I should take. And when that's in your head, well, then you're in a really tough spot.
You're lost. When you're starting to think about what you're doing and what you shouldn't be doing, you got to see the baseball react to a situation. Every opportunity or every at bat is different when you come to home plate.
Wow, Loesch wanted that one. It was close. You could see Lucroy. He tried to frame it and hold it in there. Home plate umpire Mark Carlson hearing it from the Brewer dugout. This was close.
That's
okay.
It was low. Yeah, you're not going to get everything like that. There you see it on a pitch tracker. It's down.
Yeah.
If you give that pitcher that, then that pumps him up. So now Moss in a really good spot.
Bangs it foul.
This could be a softball game today. Ball's carrying well. Bright sunny day. The Indians are going to have to answer. That's all there is. They're due to have a breakout game and score a lot of runs.
Loesch with a payoff pitch. And Moss lines one right at the second baseman. Double play. Incredible. Moss smoked it right at Jeanette Santana. It's not that he's straight into no man's land, but he just couldn't get back.
It's one of those tough calls when you're a base runner and that ball's hit that hard. He stopped. He froze. He didn't go to third base. He just didn't get back in time because the ball was hit too hard. That is a tough break for Brandon Moss. I feel sorry for, because after hitting into 2 double plays, that'll make you furious. But when you hit the ball on the nose like that and you get into that double play, it's like, my goodness, you got to try something different.
Giovanni Urshela pops one up back out of play. Our great clip of the game from last night came off the bat of Urshela. He lined a double up the alley in right center, plating the Tribe's only run of the game. And when he drove that run in, it made it a 3-1 game. And the Indians still had hope. But in the next half inning, that hope quickly vanished. You know, that's kind of the way baseball goes sometimes. When you're in a funk and when things aren't going your way, you get those opportunities. You get in a great hitter's count. You get the pitcher looking for you, hit it hard, and it still ends up a double play. Urshela flies out to end the inning. And we'll go to the bottom of the second in Milwaukee, where the Brewers lead the Indians 3-1. Our stat of the game today is brought to you by Buick. Indians against the Brewers over the last 8. It has not gone well for the Indians. Milwaukee winning all 8. Only time they've won a game here is when they were playing a different team.
Let's import the Angels. Yeah, we were the home team here then. That's why. It's always the home team.
Well, it's a shame for especially those of us who grew up when the Indians and Brewers were always playing each other, it seemed like, in the days of the American League East before we had the realignment. Even then, even early in realignment, Milwaukee was still with the Indians. But they went to the National League, and you rarely see them anymore. Kyle Lewis grounds out, one away. Let's go down to Andre Knott. The Brewers, when that, you talk about their leadoff man, Carlos Gomez was in the leadoff spot, Gene Segura was in the leadoff spot. Things have really started to click with Gerardo Parra, huh?
Yes, things changed when Parra was put into the leadoff spot. And Greg Counsell says he loves putting his name at the top of the lineup. He's not worried about trade deadline stuff with him. He's hitting .339 since April 25th. Only 4 guys have hit better since that date. Paul Goldschmidt, Miguel Cabrera, Bryce Harper, and Jason Kipnis. And everyone in that clubhouse says Parra in the leadoff spot has changed this offense for Milwaukee.
Well, you like somebody with energy and aggressiveness, and that guy has it all. You know, he fits right into this lineup, boy.
And I couldn't tell you what the free agent market may bear for Parra, but Milwaukee might want to rethink whether or not they make a legitimate run at keeping him here.
Well, I'm sure they will. He's an excellent defender, Gold Glove outfielder. Play all 3.
I bring that up for those of you who weren't with us last night because Milwaukee at one point this year basically had the mindset that they were going to maybe go through a bit of a rebuilding process. No one wants to use that word anymore, retooling, if you will. But they've played so well of late. And I think many in the organization are starting to change their thought process to, well, maybe instead of a complete rebuild, a couple of tweaks here and there, maybe they could be contending again in the next year or 2.
Well, remember what division they are in. They're in a tough division. That's Central in the National League, and you have the Cardinals, you have the Pirates, you have the Cubs, and we just left Cincinnati, and of course Milwaukee. So I'll tell you what, it's a tough division. It's a really good division.
Well, it would appear that Cincinnati is definitely headed towards some kind of a rebuilding.
They're going to fly by Cincinnati in the standings here.
Chicago is getting better, though.
Yeah, they're playing well.
Next several years, all those young players.
At Brewers, they buried themselves the first month of the season. They really had to battle to get back to where they are right now. And, you know, their sights, you know, when you say you're 20 games under 500 at one time, to get even back to 500 is an amazing feat.
They were 21 below. That was their low watermark. They're within 10 now. So they've shaved off 11 games off that deficit. The 1-1. And where Craig Counsell really likes where his club is at right now, he says they're of the mindset that when they leave the clubhouse, all they're thinking about is, all right, what are we going to do tomorrow?
That's a good feeling.
Not thinking big, long term. Not thinking, well, you've got a 10-game deficit. It's just let's win tomorrow.
Win today and look forward to tomorrow. And that's a really good feeling when the players are doing that. Because you know what? It makes his job really easy. You just write the names into the lineup.
1-2 pitch. Right at the second baseman Kipnis, and now the Indians almost turned a double play. Looked like maybe they had it, but to no avail. Parra able to slide back in safely.
Parra was one guy that he took off to second base, and I thought they were going to get the double play. But by the time they could get it back, he ends up getting his hand to the base.
Yep. Good call at first by Ryan Blackney. And so with 2 down, Carlos Gomez, the batter. Gomez struck out his first time up. He was fooled on a couple of changeups by Anderson. Both times he started after the pitch, tried to hold up, but could not do it. High fastball able to check that time. Player profile brought to you by Levin Furniture. Gomez signed by the Mets when he was just 16 years old. Went to the Twins in the big Johan Santana deal back in 08. Into the Brewers for J.J. Hardy. Hardy didn't last long in Minnesota, but he's really turned his career around when he went to Baltimore again.
Parlayed it into a nice deal in Baltimore, yeah.
Every time Gomez fouls the ball off, he smells the burnt wood on his back.
I don't figure it. The burnt. It's like he swings that hard. He's got a totally different stance. He's crouched on his back leg open, trying to pull everything now. He moved up on the plate, and then he inside outs this. How about that?
And it's going well. It's going well, and that's the way it's going for Milwaukee right now. 2 more hits here in the second inning. 7 hits in the game already.
Well, 5 of the 7 have come with 2 outs. He did the same thing in the first. He had the 2 outs and a man on first base, and then the home run came. Well, he had the single, gets 2 outs. Now you get another base hit. He goes inside out on that baseball into right field. You're bringing up the guy that got it started back in the first. He had a changeup, a nothing changeup that stayed middle of the plate.
Remember, the 3 runs that Anderson allowed in the first inning equal the number of earned runs he'd given up in his first 4 starts combined.
Look at the pitch in the first inning. That changeup, it had a lot of carry to it. You know, if you hit that vehicle they have up there, and he was just underneath it. Well, if a lucky fan will get that. That was right into Toyota territory.
Do you get it with the dent and all? Or
yes, I'm sure they can. Sure, why not? You can take it and have it pounded out. There it is.
If he smashes a window in it.
Well, then he'll have to pay for it. But that's a pretty good ride from home plate. A good drive.
When Prince Fielder played here, he hit a bunch of them up there.
Yes, he did.
The 1-1. Foul to third base side. Two on, 2 out, 1-2 pitch. And that'll even the count.
Trying to keep him from leaning out over the plate, which is not a bad idea.
Pop back, and that's going to get out of play. Cody Anderson's already made, as you see there, 50 pitches, and we're in the second inning. And he's been out there a long time. Game's already almost an hour long. 2-2. Another 2-out base hit. Coming around third, Parra will try to score. Brantley's throw is way off the mark. And it's now 4-1 Milwaukee. Adam Lynn has driven in 3 of the 4 for the Brewers as they continue to thrive with the big 2-out hit.
Yeah, he just strokes this one right back up the middle. That pitch was down. So he has been up in today's game, but this pitch was down, and Lynn just smokes it to center field. Parra able to come around and score easily. Brantley's throw way offline. Much different throw from center field than left field. Especially when you're trying to throw a guy out, you try to get it over the pitcher's mound. It's a lot longer. Try and put a little more on it, and you become a little less accurate.
Well,
Second time.
Mickey Callaway talking, and the bullpen getting busy again. It's Austin Adams once again.
Well, second time in as many innings that Callaway has had to go out and talk to Cody Anderson. Well, this has been like no other for him coming into the big leagues. It's like the reality of, oh my goodness, here we go. Already 8 hits.
And as you pointed out, 6 of the 8 have come with 2 outs. This one's a pop-up back and into the seats.
Yeah, those are backbreakers when you have a chance to get out of the inning and they just prolong it and keep it going and keep you out there working. Now you go back, and I'm sure you'll hear it and they'll talk about it. The 12-day layoff. What did it have to do with Cody Anderson? Help or hurt? It certainly didn't help.
To center field, Brantley will make the catch. That will end the inning. But Milwaukee scores again, and after 2, they lead the Indians 4-1. Time for a little flashback. County Stadium, 1991, and Cecil Fielder says, I'm leaving. Literally out of the ballpark.
You don't realize how far that was. That was off my buddy Dan Plesac, who was a great closer here for the Brewers. And he hit one out of County Stadium. That was a cab ride.
Cody Anderson down on strikes, 1 away. Well, Cecil Fielder's one of the only guys I remember that ever came close to hitting one into the bleachers at Old Municipal Stadium. I think he might have one-hopped one up there.
Well, he could hit them as far as anybody and out of any ballpark. He could hit one out of the Grand Canyon if he was down at the bottom of it. On the roofs or over in Tiger Stadium or Old Comiskey Park.
Kipnis fouls one out of play. 0-2. A little bit high. Bounced in the dirt. 2-2. Now he drives one to left center field. That's in the gap, and that will get down. Kipnis in the second base with a one-out double here in the third. And that's his 29th of the year, and he is all alone leading the American League in doubles.
Well, this ball had a little more of the plate, and it enabled Jason to just keep it in play. And he hits it into the gap in left center field. A nice little. He went down and hit that ball beautifully into the gap. One out double. 3 hits now for the Tribe. Kipnis leads the league by 2. 29 over Cespedes and Dozier. And Michael Brantley right there at 26.
Francisco Lindor homered in the first for the Indians' only run. And now he drives one toward right center field. That's going to drop. Kipnis, though, never really got a read on it. He just gets to third base. So the Indians do get a hit with a runner in scoring position, but it does not produce a run.
Well, off the end of the bat, you have to be sure that ball's going to drop. Kipnis knew it wasn't hit all that well, but you're unsure of if Gomez is going to come in and make a play, but he's just cruising after it. So he just goes up 90 feet. First and third, one out now for Michael Brantley.
And a chance for the Indians to come right back now, trying to regain some momentum. Brantley ground out to first in the first. Nice block by Lucroy. With the exception maybe of Gomez, who shades Brantley a step or two toward left. They play Brantley almost as straight up as anybody. Infielders, outfielders. He's been their money back at the dish in these situations. Lindor takes off, and so does Brantley. Liftoff. Gone to the bullpen. A game-tying 3-run home run for Michael Brantley. His 7th of the year. And the Indians come back to knot it up at 4 apiece. Brantley now with 54 runs batted in on the season. Leads the club. And is that a jolt they needed in a big-time way?
It's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. And it takes one swing of the bat. This one went up into the mezzanine above the bullpen, where a lot of yellow shirts are today. Gets up into about the second or third row. Oh, there it is, down in the bullpen, and ricochets. Big hit there for Michael. His 7th homer. And we have a new ball game.
Murphy fouling it right back. Well, you said it early. Maybe it's one of those days we will have a softball game.
Yeah, softball game. We're due to have one here.
It's a foul ball. Right over the bag, but in foul ground. Now, Brantley came into the game 9th in the American League in batting average with runners in scoring position. So he has been not only one of their best, but one of the best in the AL this year. So no surprise that he delivers when they need it most. Murphy punches one to third. Ramirez went down and could not recover to make a play. And the Indians have the go-ahead run aboard now.
That almost shocked them because they were playing him way over to try and pull the ball on the ground, and Murphy with the 2-strike swing just slaps it the other way. Ramirez reaching for it and stumbles. Just couldn't keep his footing. I'm not sure he would have been able to get David. It would have taken him a couple of steps to plant and get the throw across. So now the Indians have 4 straight hits. And they have 6 on the afternoon.
At 37 years old, you have to wonder if that's a play Ramirez says, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, I probably would have made that play.
Probably. That could be true.
Santana takes the strike. Carlos, a bunt single in the 2nd inning, and because of that, Ramirez is playing on the cut of the grass over there near third base
until
to
you
take
get
that
2
away.
strikes, and now he'll go back into the shortstop position. But that's what it does. It keeps him there for 2 pitches, or until you get to strike 2 before he moves back.
Oh my, right to the first baseman, Lynn, who steps on the bag. Murphy caught in a rundown, and the inning is over. But Michael Brantley steps up and delivers a game-tying 3-run homer. We're even at 4, middle of 3rd.
Welcome back for our Miller preview. We'll show you later in the game.
Chris Davis going to lead off here in the bottom of the third for Milwaukee. Two teams have already combined for 8 runs on 14 hits. Swing and a miss. 1-1. In each of the last 2 innings, they waited till there were 2 outs before we got action in the bullpen. This time, Anderson begins the inning with, I believe, Austin Adams still in the pen getting loose, which tells you the leash is now very short once the Indians have come back to tie it.
A big inning here for Cody Anderson, where this is definitely a shutdown inning after the Tribe comes back to tie it up.
Davis fouls one down the right side. And a full count. Davis with a healthy hack, but it's foul.
You know, what I've noticed today with Cody Anderson, a lot of foul balls and a lot of deep counts for him today.
Yeah, the efficiency with which we saw him work in his first 4 starts, just not there today. Lindor takes care of Davis. 1 away. Injury report brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk. Manny Parra, we just saw in Cincinnati, down with a left elbow injury. Jason Vargas, now that's the interesting one. The Royals sent Yordano Ventura down to the minor leagues. They activated Vargas from the DL, and boom, he goes right back on it, and Ventura gets called right back.
Yeah, that's a move that sort of backfired.
Broken bat. And Kipnis runs it down. What a play by the all-star second baseman. It was over his shoulder, and he went hell-bent for leather after it, able to reel it in for the second out of the inning.
Well, he got a good jump on the ball, and he's going to reach out, catch up, and realize once it's in his glove, he'll go down for a slide. It takes a hit away from Segura.
Two down for Scooter Gennett. He goes after the first pitch, and he's got a base hit over into right field.
Yeah, that's okay. You've got the pitcher up next, but here's another Brewer jumping on a first pitch fastball, and it was upstairs, and he got on top of it. That left-handed hitter, they say they're low ball hitters. Well, there's one he gets on top of. Lined it into right field. They now have 9 hits, and again another hit with 2 outs. So 7 of the 9 2-out hits.
Walsh is a decent hitter.
Yeah, he is.
7 hits and 33 at bats on the year.
That's what happens when you spend time with the Cardinals. Their pitchers can hit a little bit.
Cody quickly gets ahead 0-2. Now, I mentioned before, Rick, that at least it appears that Anderson has not been as efficient as he has in his previous 4 starts. But, you know, when you're a pitch to contact guy like he is, sometimes the other side of the coin is that they will find holes.
Yes.
They will get base hits.
No question. You're going to give up 2 hits.
Kyle Osh, and this has been the biggest problem for Anderson today, is getting that third out.
Yeah, can't get out of the inning. They keep you working, don't they? This one looked like a cutter away, and Tito's seen enough, man.
That's it.
Yeah. There's a cutter that just stayed middle of the plate. That did nothing. Let's Loesch line one into center field. So the shortest start of the career of Cody Anderson is coming to an end here this afternoon in Milwaukee.
Well, third inning, he's going to be facing the lineup for the third time already, and I think that's a reason. Not just because he gave up a hit to the opposing pitcher, but he said, hey, that's enough. So the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen has been made. Austin Adams will come in to relieve Cody Anderson, who made 65 pitches in 2 2/3 innings here today.
$12,500 fans will receive a Larry Doby replica statue, courtesy of Key Bank on Saturday, July 24th. The Indians will host the White Sox. All fans can enjoy a post-game fireworks. You can go to Indians.com for your tickets. And now Austin Adams coming into the ball game for the 14th time. 3.24 ERA, pitched in last night's ball game. Coming on with 2 outs, runners on first and second. Boy, Milwaukee, 8 of the 10 hits, Matt, with 2 outs. Tough day for Cody Anderson.
Right back. Now the 1-1. Just missed inside. Through at 5, it's 2-2. Mackenzie Martin is celebrating her 5th birthday today in Ashland, Ohio, and at the rate this game is going, she'll be 6 when it finishes. Adams trying to put the fire out here in the third as Milwaukee with 2 outs. Back-to-back singles, trying to reclaim the lead. Back-to-back timeouts before a pitch is even thrown here.
Yes, he did.
Third base umpire Brian Gorman concurs, and the inning is over. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. After 3, it's Milwaukee 4, Cleveland 4. Time to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use the hashtag STODataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming telecast brought to you by T-Mobile. Fourth inning, Yan Gomes to lead off for Cleveland. Gomes walked his first time up in the second. And a line drive base hit in the left field. So Gomes stays locked in at the plate. And the Indians leadoff man is aboard here in the fourth. And that's 7 hits now for the Tribe.
Hanging breaking ball by Loesch. Yan Gomes able to take advantage of it.
Let's go down to Andre, who has more on Yan Gomes and how he's starting to lock in at the plate.
You know, the one thing Yan Gomes said in Cincinnati, and he said him and Brandon Moss have talked about this a lot, is forget about the first half. Quit looking at the numbers and get back to who they are as players. He's been able to do that with his swing so far, and he's trying to get Brandon Moss and some of the other guys that have struggled. He said, forget about the first half. Let's just start over now and get going.
Well, that's sometimes easier said than done, but that is the approach you want to have. Moss blips one. Will it drop? And a nice play with his back to home plate by Gene Segura to take a hit away from Brandon Moss. 1 down.
Back to the infield. You're looking up and make sure he has it all the way. You know, I don't know what the sun is like in this ballpark with the roof or where it bothers any of the fielders. Clouds starting to come in now, but still peaks of sun in and out.
I think the hitters are catching a little bit of a break today because of the cloud cover. Urshela with a line drive base hit into center field. And so the Indians continue to swing the bats pretty well here. 2 on, 1 out. Pitcher Austin Adams will get his first at bat. Normally during a day game, if you've got bright sunshine without cloud cover, the roof panels that are on the right side of the ballpark cast a shadow, and sometimes the home plate is enveloped in that shadow. So
yeah,
we know how that goes.
Yeah,
it can be tough on the hitter.
Well, now Austin Adams getting an at bat. I want to know when the last time this guy had a chance to swing was. He's bunting all the way.
They're going to call that what? No call.
Yeah,
now they call it a fair ball. And it's a double play to end the inning.
Yes, it is. Another double play, and he'll just flip it over. It'll go 2 to
home plate umpire Mark Carlson never signaled until after the ball was thrown to third base. So Adams is standing there in the box saying, "You never made a call on that." See, now he signals fair ball. Adams was still in the batter's box.
Yeah, it was a delayed call. He let the play take place before, and it almost dictated what he called.
Well, the inning's over. Another double play. Well, we take a look back at the play that ends the inning. The bunt.
Watch him hit the ball in the glove. Looks like he tags Adams right on the shoulder as he has the ball. Lucroy does coming out. This he'll get a better angle, and from this angle, it looks like it's a fair ball. You see where it's out in front of the batter's box. Out comes Lucroy to get it.
He tags him on the back shoulder, though. His back shoulder, I think, is in foul territory.
Well, the plate is in fair territory. I mean, it doesn't have to be in front of that plate.
I don't know.
Well, he didn't. I'm not sure Austin knew where the ball was, to be honest with you. It went straight up, and he wasn't going to go anywhere. It was close.
Yeah. See, I guess that's what I'm saying. He doesn't see the ball in front of him, so there's no way he thinks it's a fair ball. He gets tagged on the back of his shoulder. He's figuring it's got to be a foul ball. But
he thought it was a foul ball when he bunted it, I believe.
Can't fight City Hall, as they say.
Well, don't assume it's a foul ball. Take off.
Down the right field line, but slicing foul. Trying to check his swing, but it's called a strike.
Now, it's hard to check a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. You either let it go because you're not going to hold up. You have to turn the dial up. I mean, there's a big difference between, let's say, 92, 93 and a 99.
And then he comes back with a breaking ball. And Lucroy able to lay off at 2-2. Jonathan Lucroy last year became the first catcher in modern history to lead the league in doubles. 53. When you're at 98 miles an hour and that baby's coming up and starts working its way back in off the plate.
It sounded high.
Three-two pitch. I mean, how good was Lucroy last year? Not only did he set that record for doubles by catcher, but he goes to the All-Star game. He goes 2 for 2. His hits came off John Lester and Chris Sale, and they were both doubles.
Yeah, he had a special year last year.
And the 3-2 is in the dirt. Brewers get their leadoff man aboard. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski. All right, thanks, Al. Carlos Gomez struck out in the first. He singled in the second.
Let's see how big a swing he takes off the good fastball of Adams.
98 fouled off to the right. Ryan Webb getting loose. Nice breaking ball, and it's in for a strike. 0-2. Two-strike pitch, and he got a piece of it. Just barely ticked it back to the screen. Jonathan Lucroy, the leadoff walk. He's aboard. Gomez down on the count, 0-2. That ball sails high. Adam Lynn waits on deck. He's already driven 3 of the 4 runs for Milwaukee home today. Gomez goes chasing up high, and he is down on strikes, 1 away.
Let's make this our Circle K strikeout today. A high fastball. Not going to catch up with that one. That's a great spot right there to any hitter, because it's easier to see his fastball when it's up, but you can't catch up to it because it's too hard. And you'll get swings and misses probably all day long. I think the best thing that'll happen there, for if you're a hitter, maybe foul it off.
Adam Lynn touched them all with a 2-out 2-run homer in the first, then a 2-out RBI single in the second. Breaks his bat.
That's going to fall.
Murphy can't get to it. Lucroy moves into scoring position, and Adam Lynn is 3 for 3.
Looks like it's his day today. Where they weren't. Off the end of the bat, cost him a bat, but it goes as a base hit. Falls in front of David, so you're talking 11 hits now for Milwaukee. And so far in this game, when they get to 2 outs, they have yet to get the 3rd out right after they get the 2nd out, because Milwaukee's been still making pitchers work.
And Milwaukee's piled up 20 hits now in the 2 games. And we're only in the 4th inning. Aramis Ramirez, he singled and scored in the first, fly to center to end the 2nd inning. Double play ball to Kipnis. He goes to Lindor for 1 on the first. That'll end the inning. Finally turned about his fair play. And after 4, we're tied at 4 in Milwaukee. Dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. 4-4, 5th inning. Beautiful July afternoon here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Jason Kipnis looks at a strike. Kipnis out on strikes in the first, doubled and scored in the third. The American League leader in doubles with 29.
It's going to fall.
Gomez can't get to it. And Jason Kipnis has his second hit of the afternoon.
So 4 straight multi-hit games for him.
In-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Francisco Lindor got the Indians on the board first with a solo homer in the first, but Milwaukee came right back with 3 in the bottom of the first, a 2-run homer by Adam Lind. And then Michael Brantley would tie the game with a 3-run homer in the third, and we are knotted up at 4 apiece. Back to Lindor, he's 2 for 2. He's been one of the Indians' best hitters here in the month of July, even with that 0 for last night, 0 for 4. Where'd that ball go? Did he almost pick off Tito in the dugout?
I think it was in the dugout, yeah.
That's why he was nervously laughing. Out of play. His 19 hits in the month of July have him batting .284 in the month. A little bit high, and it's 2-2. Michael Brantley waiting on deck. Kyle Loesch about to deliver his 75th pitch of the afternoon. Outside, full count.
Full count. You got to start Kipnis here.
Milwaukee bullpen quiet for the moment. That could change if Lindor gets aboard.
Many double plays as they hit into. You can't stay put.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
You got to move.
He doesn't. And it's ball 4. So the Indians' first 2 aboard here in the 5th. And up comes Michael Brantley, who clobbered a 3-run homer the last time Kipnis and Lindor were aboard ahead of him. Let's go down to Andre Knott.
Well, guys, we know the All-Star break didn't help all the pitchers for the Indians, but one guy it definitely helped was Michael Brantley. He had only 4 extra base hits in the last 18 games before the All-Star break, and he told me, I need the break. He already has 4 extra base hits since the break broke. We're just 5 games in, and he looks more like the Brantley from last year because the extra base hits are coming off that bat finally.
Yeah, that's a good sign. 3-run homers coming off the bat of Michael Brown. That's a good sign.
Now that Brewer bullpen has action. And Brantley takes a strike. One ball, 1 strike. Remember last time Brantley was up when he hit the home run, Kipnis was at third base. Lindor was at first. Lindor took off on the pitch. And with him running, that's when Brantley drove it out of here. This time he lines it, base hit in the left field. Kipnis coming around third and ball. Skips away from Davis. Indians score the go-ahead run. Lindor aggressively into third. And down to second goes Brantley. Chris Davis couldn't come up with the ball cleanly in left field, and the Indians take advantage of a miscue by Milwaukee.
Well, it'll be a base hit, an RBI, and then Davis really played that poorly. It was good hustle by Lindor because he allowed him to get to third base, not coming up with it cleanly. But then Brantley moves up from first to second to take the double play away. Boy, and he botched that whole thing. That's got to be an error there for Brantley to get all the way.
See,
to second
Sarbo
base.
was going to stop him. He had the stop sign up, but as soon as he saw the ball bobbled, then he waved Kipnis home. Now second and third with nobody out, and the infield in for David Murphy.
Yeah, give Brantley the ribby and an error on Davis.
Bounced in front of the plate. Good block by Lucroy. So Brantley now with 4 of the 5 Indians runs have come via his bat today. Season high 4 runs knocked in for Brantley, and a 1-1 for Murphy coming up here. Slow chopper to first, and Murphy will be tagged out. Lindor holds at third, 1 away.
Now the Indians here with an opportunity to really, jump up and to take the lead, put on a crooked number. Not a good at bat by David Murphy there.
Now, and here's Carlos Santana.
They're going to put him on. I wonder if they're going to go to the bullpen for Blazak.
Now, Gomes has already walked and singled against Loesch today.
I don't think that's a good matchup. I think he's going to be looking for a ground ball double play or a strikeout if you're Counsell. So I believe he's going to go to the bullpen.
Is that Jerry Narin that Counsell was conferring with?
I believe so.
Yeah. Let's see what he decides to do here. Santana walks to load the bases.
He'll leave his veteran in. I would think this will be his last hitter.
This is like playing poker. You kind of take
That's
that deep
a tough
breath
call
and
because
like,
you're in the 5th inning right here, and he's already given up one. They have the bases loaded, and he had to get a tough out on Murphy to keep it a 5-4 game.
Out goes Lucroy.
Yeah, the top part of that Indians offense has done it all today. Kipnis is 2 for 3. He scored a pair. Lindor is 2 for 2. He scored a pair. Brantley has the 4 RBIs, 2 hits. For Kipnis, his 4th straight multi-hit game. And a prime opportunity to have a big inning.
Upstairs, ball 1. As if the Indians' troubles this year with runners in scoring position aren't bad enough. With the bases loaded, it's been even worse.
That's why I wasn't even going to say anything. I'm going to leave it put.
You're going to let a sleeping dog lie, are you?
The bases are loaded. Leave it at that.
2-0 pitch coming to Gomes. 3-0.
Yeah, patient. He's nibbling now, and I'm a little surprised he left him in there.
Now the 3-0 pitch. Gomes taking all the way. It's in there for a strike. Sunday in Cincinnati, this was the Indians' offense. 4 bases loaded walks. Gomes awaits the 3-1. Pops it high, slicing toward the seats, and just does get out of play. Full count. Gomes. Bases loaded, 1 out. Indians lead it 5-4 here in the 5th. 3-2 pitch. And another foul back out of play. Two. Foul back to the screen.
Bush has come back. It's been 5 straight strikes after a 3-0 count to Gomes. And Giannis fouled off a couple of good pitches. The pitch before that was a really good pitch to stay alive.
Indians trailed at 4-1 after 2 innings. They've come back to take the lead, looking to really blow it open now. And a 3-2 pitch is short hop by the shortstop. Segura goes to second for 1. Another inning-ending double play. Indians do take the lead, 5-4, middle of the 5th.
Miller Lite cans in the right field district on July 24th when the Indians host the White Sox. Fans can get 12-ounce beers for $2 from 5 to 7. And then following the game, post-game fireworks show. Tickets going quickly. Get them at Indians.com.
Indians go to their bullpen for the second time today as Ryan Webb will make his 22nd appearance of the year. A win, no losses, ERA 2.67. He'll be facing Chris Davis, Gene Segura, and Scooter Gennett. Indians lead at 5-4, but the story once again has been their tough luck. 4 double plays in the first 5 innings. So 8 double plays they've hit into in the 2 games combined here in Milwaukee. They do have a 1-run lead now. Chris Davis 1 for 2. First time up, Davis just kind of threw his hands at a pitch that was I think it was a cutter off the plate, punched it into center field. Second time up, similar situation, but he grounded it to short for an out. In the hole, Urshela with a nice play and a perfect throw to Santana, 1 down.
Well, Gio going to his left, and he comes up, and you can see just nice, easy. Didn't put a lot on the throw, just made an accurate throw to get the out. Good play.
I guess because it's the hot corner, there aren't many times you see a third baseman able to take 3 strides, have the time to get to a ball.
In between, yes. The hops, you're right. Usually if they do it that way, you're coming in and trying to barehand a ball as opposed to going to your left.
He took 3 pretty good strides to his left, and I don't know, he made what looked to be a tough play. It made it look pretty easy.
Yes, he did.
Segura had to spin out of the way. That 2-seamer went inside. Almost funked him.
Well, that one got away from him to begin with right as soon as he let it go. And just kept on running inside. Just missed him.
Same pitch. That time Segura got a piece of it. Otherwise, it would have had a piece of him. Good pitch. He just froze him with it. Just a little fastball over the outside corner, but I suppose he was pounding him in so much he just couldn't react to the ball away.
Yeah, that's it. You're looking for another one coming in, and the next thing you know, there's one away, and it seems like it's probably 4 feet from you. You know, because he's been inside so often. I can't hit that, but I can take a walk back.
It's funny, though. You're right. You think about it. It's only, what, 17 inches wide, that plate.
Yeah.
But when you are consciously aware of that inside pitch, that ball that's only 17 inches or so away from you, it does probably feel like it's 4 feet or more.
It looks like you couldn't hit it. Looks like it's in the other batter's box. Send along our congratulations to Bud and Julie Larson, celebrating their 53rd wedding anniversary from Rocky River. And then also yesterday, our own Dan Larson and Shannon celebrating their 13th. So congratulations to you both.
Only 40 years behind, huh?
Yeah.
2-0 pitch. Bullseye. Celebrating my 21st tomorrow.
Is that right?
How about that? I just thought of it.
Glad I brought it up to you.
Thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Did you go shopping here?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, I did.
I'll find out tomorrow.
Hey, leave a key under the mat at your place.
You got it.
Might need somewhere to crash. Two down and the base is empty. Scooter Gennett faced with a full count. Can Ryan Webb retire the Brewers? 1-2-3. They did it once yesterday, and ironically enough, it was in the 5th inning. Danny Salazar struck out a pair in that 5th inning. Webb trying to make it a 1-2-3 5th and keep the Indians up a run.
Got to send out another birthday wish. Carl Bardo celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday.
He's probably watching the game, so here's a payoff pitch and a base hit to right field. Moss has to run a long way. Gennett on his way to second, and he'll hold right there with a 2-out double. Brewers have done a well of a job with the 2-out hitting today.
Well, and that works out perfectly because they wanted to use their pitch hitter and get a low shot of there. But not only does he get a hit, he gets a double, and they'll have another chance with a runner in scoring position for a guy that's been awfully hot as a pinch hitter. That went down into the corner. Gennett his 8th double.
Redbird tells me Milwaukee 9 for 12 now on the day with 2 outs. Peterson, the pinch hitter, 320 on the year. As a pinch hitter, he's even better, 6 for 12.
Had a base hit in yesterday's game as a pinch hitter.
Now the 1-0. Squibber back to the mound. Webb has it. Throws him out to end the inning. No runs, a hit, a man left. We've played 5 in Milwaukee. The Indians lead the Brewers 5-4. As promised earlier in the game, it's our Data Strong fan photo. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag STO Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming telecast brought to you by T-Mobile. The new Milwaukee pitcher is a guy we saw last night in the ball game, Michael Blazek, who worked a third of an inning. Indians got their only run of the night last night off Blazek with a couple of hits.
He did have a good curveball working last night for him. Going to face Moss or Urshela. And then the pitcher's position or spot in the lineup. And I see the Indians pen working. It looks like McAllister.
You are right. Brandon Moss is 0 for 2. Pops this one high in the air, shallow left. In comes Davis. One away. Stay tuned after the game for Drennan Live. Bruce is back from a few days off. We'll talk about today's game against the Brewers. Browns kick off training camp next week already.
He gets more days off than anybody.
Who is he, Johnny Carson?
Yeah.
Biggest stories in sports coming up right after Indians Live. Giovanni Urshela 1 for 2 with a single. Yeah, now that sun has burst through the clouds, so the left side of the infield and the outfield all bathed in bright sunshine. I think maybe, though, the hitters caught a break.
I agree.
Because earlier in the game, when that shadow might have been just around home plate and the pitcher would have been in sunlight, we had enough cloud cover.
Yeah.
There were no issues. Now, should not have an adverse effect.
It was Urshela who got the base hit off Blazek to drive in the run yesterday in the 7th inning.
Chased one on the dirt, strikes him out. 2 down.
Well, Sugardale Dollar Dogs, $2 beer pregame and fireworks presented by Wayside Furniture will take place on Friday, July 24th. Head to Indians.com for your tickets.
Ryan Rayburn pitch hitting here. Rayburn 5 out of 20 with 8 runs driven in as a pinch hitter this year. One ball, 1 strike. A little bit high. Down low. Chops it foul. Now the 3-2. He lays off. It's ball 4, and the Indians have a 2-out base runner for Jason Kipnis. And Kipnis is having a good day. Terrific series. He's 2 for 3 today. 4 for 7 against Milwaukee pitching with 2 doubles. 2 runs scored.
4th straight multi-hit game, giving him 35 on the season now.
Those 2 hits give him 17 hits now here in the month. 4th straight multi-hit game for Jason, and that's the longest streak this year.
Oh, that month that he had, how many 3-hit games in the month did he have in May? It was unbelievable.
51 hits in the month of May. Right into the glove of Adam Lynn, who steps on the bag to end the inning. Well, we'll head to the bottom of the 6th at Miller Park with the Indians in front 5-4.
Tribe Rewards. Today's Tribe Rewards TV code is Lonnie. Visit Indians.com/season tickets for the complete details.
Zach McAllister on to work here in the 6th inning. Top of the order due up for Milwaukee. Parra, Lucroy, Gomez.
McAllister right back out there today, and I bet he can't wait, because yesterday came on in the 7th inning, and the first 4 reached. 3 by singles, and the last one by a walk.
Parra, I think, yeah, he definitely went around. And it's 0-2. He was rung up back in the 3rd on a check swing, and he was not happy about it that time. He knew he went too far. He was hoping maybe nobody saw it. Two-strike pitch. Oh, it took a wicked hop. And Urshela was able to get a glove on it, but Parra's aboard to start the bottom of the 6th inning.
You know what? It did take a bad hop there. He just served it out that way, and Urshela went to go down. It looked like it kicked the, I'm not sure if it was to the left or back to the right. He was going down to get it, and it comes back on him and gets him in the heel of the glove.
We kind of missed it on that replay. Did it hit the lip?
I don't know. I don't know, but it looked like it did. It took a funny hop to him. It'll go as a base hit, but it was a funny hop.
Parra has stolen 6 out of 8 on the year. Take another look. Yeah, it looks like it hits right on the lip.
Right on the cut of the grass and the infield dirt. Had a little spin to it.
Blown away. Tying run at first here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Runner goes. Pitch is low and away, and Gomes couldn't get the handle on it to make a throw. Parra with his 7th stolen base.
Well, he came up quickly, and it looked like he had plenty of time, but it's just in the transfer, Matt, I believe. He just, he came up in plenty of time. It's right there. It's a little low. There it is. He bobbled it. Trying to rush it maybe a hair. You know, not that he had a great jump at all, because by the time he came up, I thought he had a really good chance to get him. But the transfer wasn't there, so it's a stolen base for Parra. Tying run in scoring position.
Throw it right by him, and it's 2-2.
Watch how quickly he comes up. He sees it, and in the transfer, he never had the baseball.
He never went into the glove to get it. It's like he was
sort of popped it out.
Yeah.
Oh, here you would. That was a pitch, a good fastball by McAllister. Lucroy couldn't put it in play. He's looking to hit it to the right side somewhere.
Just missed off the plate. Play. Jonathan Lucroy singled and scored in the first. lined out in the second, walked in the fourth. The 3-2 offering. Swing and a miss. Lucroy strikes out, one away.
It's a big strikeout. Goes right with the heat, the fastball away. He challenged him, and Lucroy comes up empty. He couldn't get a piece of it. Important out right there because it does not move the runner to third base. The Brewers have done a lot of their damage, or a lot of their work, I should say, with 2 outs today.
Gomez was swinging for the fences, and he came up empty.
You know, it always seems like this guy takes his biggest swing on the very first pitch. Takes his shot at hitting a home run and then maybe works his way back in. He spins to throw to second. He started his leg kick. Did you see it? You know, this is a totally different approach than he had 2 at-bats ago. His feet are closer now. He's not as wide open. He's not leaning on his back leg.
Well, you even pointed out he was opening up and he hit it the other way.
Watch this. Watch Zach spin and watch his leg kick.
Ousted in there. Swing and a miss. He ran it up and in on him. And back-to-back strikeouts for McAllister. 2 down.
Well, he's able to make his pitch inside. I love him going in here. It looks like Gomes is sitting away, but tie him up in with that good fastball. He's not going to catch up with it or do anything to it. That's a great spot for me.
So with 2 down and the tying run in scoring position, Adam Lind is the batter. You do have the right-handed hitting Aramis Ramirez on deck. He goes right at Lind. Strike 1.
Well, this guy has had an afternoon. 3 for 3, driven in 3 of the 4 Brewer runs. Last time up, he broke a bat, served it to left field for his 3rd hit.
Right field. Moss is there. Inning over. Leadoff single. Dies at second for Milwaukee, and the Indians maintain a 1-run lead through 6 innings of play. Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. Well, it's been a gorgeous day here in Milwaukee. And we head to the 7th inning with the Tribe in front by a run, 5-4. Teams have combined for 9 runs, 23 hits. Lindor started it off with a solo home run back in the first. This time he pops up on the infield, one away. Our AT&T Uverse rewind. Michael Brantley got the Indians rolling with a 3-run homer in the 3rd. That tied it. Then he put them ahead in the 5th with the opposite field RBI single. Which, given where this game is and where it went directly after that proved to be a huge bobble in left field by Chris Davis.
Yes, it did.
Brantley was credited with the RBI, and I understand that decision. But remember, right, we pointed out on the replay, Mike Sarbaugh was stopping the runner at 3rd base. He was not going to wave Kipnis home, but as soon as Davis bobbled the ball, he sped up Kipnis, who easily scored.
Well, and then they hit into that double play to end the inning. So
very well could be still a tie game. This was the play back in the 5th inning.
Yeah,
Watch Sarbaugh's left hand go up and say stop, and now go.
Well, that's a good thing because he didn't stop, and then Lindor went to 3rd base, and then Brantley ended up going to 2nd, but nothing happened after that point.
No, because the bugaboo of the double play ball has continued to bite the Indians. 4 times today, 4 times last night. They have hit into double plays. Now the 2-2 down in the dirt. Brantley sends one sky high, and this will get out of play. Sucks this one to deep right field. Power back. It's over his head. It's going to one-hop the fence and right. Brantley motoring into 2nd base safely with a 1-out double. So Brantley is 3 for 4 and a triple shy of the cycle.
Looks like he hit a breaking ball here, a hanger. That stayed middle of the plate. Michael just stayed back on it and drove it, and it was a line drive over the head of Parra. Parra made this a lot closer at 2nd base, but Brantley cruises in his 27th double and his 3rd hit of the ball game. Indians now with 11 hits. Top 3 hitters: Kipnis, Lindor, Brantley, 7 of the 11.
Murphy lays off. It's a breaking ball called a strike. Murphy hits one off the end of the bat towards third, but it's just foul. One-two offering, way outside. Weekly tap towards short. Segura just does throw out Murphy. 2 down. Brantley moves to third. Tonight at 8, join Jimmy Halen and Carling Nolan for an all-new episode of 18 Holes on our Golf Pros. Will give us a tour of the Primland Resort in Virginia. 18 holes tonight at 8 on Sports Time Ohio. Santana takes a look at ball one. Santana had the bunt single in the second. Grounded into a double play in the third. Was walked intentionally in the fifth, and then he was doubled off when Yan Gomes. No, he was. Yeah, wasn't he?
He was on second.
Yeah. That was back in the second inning. High pop back and out of play. Yeah, back in the second inning when Santana had that bunt single. He was at second, 2 on, nobody out. Brandon Moss got a line drive to the second baseman that resulted in a double play. Not your conventional double play. But that was the first of 4 more that the Indians would hit into today after hitting into 4 last night. Down and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Upstairs. So Santana has come back to run the count full. The payoff. Just missed. Oh, Blazek was walking off the mound thinking he had strike 3. In the meantime, Santana, he took off his shin guard and flipped it up in the air and went right into the glove of Jonathan Lucroy, the catcher from Milwaukee.
Well, you go inside with a fastball, just a hair in off the plate.
Watch Santana flip the guard. Lucroy ends up with it. So 2 on, 2 out, and Yan Gomes the batter. Gomes has walked, singled, and he hit into an inning-ending double play in the 5th. He had a line shot to short. It was picked on 1 hop by Segura, and 6-4-3. That ended a bases loaded threat for the Tribe. That was where it really looked like they had a real chance to blow the game open.
Good inning.
They hit it hard and hit it right at somebody. That's the way it's gone for them of late. Smashed into center field. Gomes claps his hands as he heads to first base, delivering with a 2-out RBI single to make it 6-4 Indians. Brantley scoring for Gomes, his 15th RBI on the season, his second hit in the game.
Well, he got himself a fastball. He got after the breaking ball, but that fastball up and away, he stayed on it and drove it right back up the middle. Not a good place for him, and out comes Counsell. He's going to make a move. So you get a little insurance run there. If you're the Indians, it's now a 6-4 game for Gomes, his 15th RBI.
And 2 on 2 out as Counsell will make the move here in the 7th with the Indians in front 6-4. Yeah, Yan Gomes, I mentioned before, Rick, he's starting to look like he's got the swing back, the rhythm back. Starting to have some success at the plate now.
Yeah, he picked on a breaking ball that time, and last time up he got a fastball up and out over the plate that he drives at Michael Brantley. So yeah, Gomes seems a little more comfortable there. He's getting a little confidence more and more each day. So it was the Indians' turn to do some damage with 2 outs. It seems like the Brewers have done theirs today, but they did theirs early. They scored in the first 2 innings and haven't been able to scratch anything across, and the Indians have been able to come back, not only tie the game, but add on a couple of solo runs, one in the 5th and one here in the 7th.
Brandon Moss looks at a breaking ball down low. Moss with a ground ball to first. It's off the end of the glove of Lynn. He'll throw to first, and Broxton kicks the bag to end the inning. Indians tack one on, though, on the RBI single by Yan Gomes, and we've reached the 7th inning stretch with the Indians up 6-4. Stretch time brought to you by Spencer Auto World. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Indians up 6-4 as we roll to the bottom of the 7th. I really like the regional songs that we hear in conjunction with the 7th inning stretch.
You want to roll out the barrels? You like that?
Roll out the barrel here in Milwaukee. That's pretty cool. And down in Texas, of course, we do the deep in the heart of Texas.
Right.
Pitch outside, ball 1.
Add them to your music collection so you can listen to it on the plane.
Aramis Ramirez started his professional baseball career in 1995. Made his debut with the Pirates in 1998. And now this is final season in baseball.
And has had a very good career. You look at his overall numbers, and I'll tell you what, they're spectacular.
Just shy of 400 homers.
Yeah, I mean, a 280, right at 285 batting average, 1,300 ribbies, 250 hits. That's really a nice career. Good third baseman to boot.
He's had some really monster seasons. Back in 06 with the Cubs, he had 291, 38 homers, 38 doubles, and 119 runs driven in. It wasn't that long ago in 2012 that he hit 50 doubles in his first year with Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's
with 27 homers and 105 driven in.
You know, you talk about good third baseman, and you know his name doesn't pop up, and I don't know why.
Pop to center, and Brantley makes the catch, 1 away. Chris Davis coming up, 1 out of 3 on the day. You know, the other thing about Ramirez, talking about sort of maybe quietly under the radar, if you will, having the career he's had, the only third baseman who have hit more home runs.
Beltre?
Schmidt, Matthews, Jones, and Beltre.
Okay.
He passed Greg Nettles this year. Mike Schmidt, of course, Eddie Matthews in the Hall of Fame. Chipper Jones probably in the Hall of Fame.
Will be, yeah, when his time comes, absolutely.
And Adrian Beltre is going to have a heck of a case, too.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, you look at his numbers all the way through at third baseman, and they're as good as they get.
The 0-2 offering. Swung on and missed. McAllister with his 3rd strikeout. In the 6th inning, Gerardo Parra led off with a single, stole second, so he was in scoring position as the tying run. And then McAllister struck out Luke Roy, struck out Gomez, and got Adam Lynn to hit a fly ball to right to end the inning. What a difference not even 24 hours can make.
Yeah, that's right. He didn't get an out. Today he's looking like he's going to go 2 innings.
Kipnis throws him out, and McAllister indeed with 2 scoreless frames of relief. And we'll go to the 8th. Indians up 6-4. Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. (6-4) Indians on top as we go to the 8th. And Giovanni Urshela will lead it off for Cleveland. And we'll get a pinch hitter. And Jason Kipnis due up third. Michael Bourne in the on-deck circle. Urshela fouls it off. Jonathan Broxton got the final out of the 7th inning. We've seen him in the past with both Cincinnati and Kansas City.
One time they thought this big man was going to be a good closer, but it hasn't panned out for him.
You know, you go back, I mean, one time in his career, he saved 36 games for the Dodgers. Back out of play. Tell you what, that's a lot of appearances. 579. Check, did he go? Appeal. And the first base umpire, Ryan Blackley, rings him up. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. It was on this date in 1994. Jim Thome off Jason Beret. That was just getting started. Then off Scott Sanderson. And then Sanderson again, a 3-homer night for Jim Thome.
No cheapies there.
Curtain call to boot. Michael Bourne pitch hitting, showing bunt, taking a strike. Back in 07, Rick, before Broxton became the Dodgers closer, he pitched in 83 games.
Every other day. That's a lot of appearances, boy.
And came back the next year in 70 games, had 14 saves. The following year, 73 appearances, 36 saves, and down to 64 games with 22 saves. And then his career started to just send him all over the place. He went from the Dodgers to Kansas City to Cincinnati, a couple of years with the Reds, and on here to Milwaukee. Two balls, two strikes. Broxton's been to a couple All-Star games. He's pitched in the playoffs in 4 different seasons.
Trying to get it rolling. He had a tough night last night. Double play and 3 strikeouts.
2-2 pitch. Been almost a year since Bourne last grounded into a double play, too. Jason Kipnis coming up. 2 more hits, 4 straight games with multiple hits for Kipnis. Doubled and scored in the 3rd. League leading 29th 2-bagger. Then he singled and scored again in the 5th.
Well, it's been the big 3, the top 3: Kipnis, Lindor, Brantley. That's been a part of the lineup. They've scored all 6 runs. They've driven in 5 of them. And they have 7 of the 12 hits.
Bounce to short. Segura with the backhand, loads in a hurry. And the Tribe is retired 1-2-3 for the first time today. Looking back at our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. The hits with runners in scoring position. Indians have a few of them, and it always helps when you get a 3-pointer like Michael Brantley delivered in the 3rd inning. And you know, from a pitching standpoint, it was a weird game. Cody Anderson just didn't have it today. Brewers knocked him around early, but the bullpen has been exceptional.
Yeah, they really have. And Brian Shaw coming on after Adams, Webb, McAllister. Shaw's been pitching very well. You look at him over his last 35 games, a 1.23 ERA, 18 hits in his 31 innings pitched, coming on for the hold. And Shaw has 12 holds so far this year. He's going to get Gannett, the pitcher's spot, and Parra back to the top of the lineup. It looks like Ryan Braun's out to pinch hit.
Gannett, couple of hits, doubled his last time up. Takes a strike, 1-1.
Fister. Oh, that's a hotel we stayed at.
The Grand Old Pfister.
Yes, indeed. Been here forever.
One ball, two strikes. Just walking into the lobby of a place like that, you truly feel like you're stepping back in time, don't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The way some of the people are dressed there, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Chopped up the middle. Kipnis. He got a glove on it, but with Lindor flashing in front of him, might have caused a little distraction. I'm not sure what it mattered. Jeanette really gets down the line in a hurry.
I agree with you. I don't know. Kipnis would have had to make the play. He would have had to stop, jump up, and make a throw to first base and get something on it, which I don't think would have happened. You see, over comes Lindor, and just Kipnis never fielded it cleanly. Even if he had him, it would have been a very, very tough play. So it goes as an infield single. The 14th hit for the Brewers today. We're going to get a pinch hitter in Ryan Braun.
Now this is the moment Craig Counsell was hoping for. You get Braun at the plate, and he represents the tying run. "16 homers on the year." He and Adam Lynn have each driven in 57 on the year.
He's 2 for 4 with 2 ribbies as a pinch hitter as well.
Nice stop by Gomes. Swing and a miss. And it's 1-1. Good fastball from Brian Shaw. To center field, Brantley goes back and makes the catch. 1 away. Saturday, it's a baseball doubleheader starting with the A's and the Giants. Bay Bridge Series. Then at 7 Eastern, Braves battle the Central Division leading Cardinals in a game you'll only see on Fox Sports 1. Coverage begins at 4 Eastern only on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. One out now for Gerardo Parra. Couple of hits, stolen base, and a run scored. Right at Santana, steps on the bag, goes to second. Double play ends the inning. Drive turns a pair, and we go to the 9th. Cleveland 6, Milwaukee 4. All right, thanks, Al. We go to the 9th inning, and Francisco Lindor, Michael Brantley, David Murphy coming up for the Tribe. Jonathan Broxton worked an inning and a third of scoreless relief. Now the Indians will see the left-hander Neil Kotz. Kotz pitched a scoreless inning last night. And Lindor takes a strike. Lindor homered in the first, then he singled and scored in the third. He walked, was stranded at third in the 5th inning, popped up his last time to the plate. Down and in. 2 balls and a strike. Hit hard to center. Gomez racing back and makes the catch. Ran it down in deep center field for out number 1. Our Pat O'Brien Chevrolet play of the game, Michael Brantley. He had a game offensively. 3-run blast in the third, got it rolling.
Sure did. Stepped right up and drove in another run there. Ended up getting to second base, and he's not done. Line drive double. He's come around to score in his last at bat, so a very good afternoon for Michael.
One ball, one strike, Brantley. 55 runs driven in on the year now.
There's Cody getting ready. He will enter in the 9th here.
Boy, Rick, if the Indians ever find a proven cleanup hitter, a legitimate guy to really anchor that lineup, really exciting with boy Brantley swinging the bat.
It would take a lot of pressure off, I think, everybody else in the lineup, like good number 4 hitters do.
Base hit into left field. Michael Brantley with his 4th straight hit in the game.
He didn't like the call of pitch before, so what's he do? He takes it out on the baseball and gets his 4th hit. 2 singles, a double, and a homer. There's the breaking ball. He kept his hands back nicely and just didn't do too much with it. Goes the other way. 13 hits for the Indians. Brantley with 4.
Mike Aviles will pinch hit for David Murphy. And it's inside, ball 1. Bourne and Rayburn have already pinch hit earlier in the game, so this tells you the kind of confidence that Terry Francona has in Mike Aviles, because he's going to go out and play left field here.
No, he doesn't hurt you out there at all.
Also tells you he'd like to add another run on the board.
Right. Well, always. Go in there, you know, you get a guy on, they have a tying run coming to the plate. Always love to have that extra run if you can get it as a manager, I would think.
Aviles shoots one to third. The second for one on the first. No. He had to come off the bag.
I thought not another.
If you joined us late, the Indians hit into double plays in 4 consecutive innings earlier today, giving them 8 in the last 2 games.
Well, it was a good feed. I don't think the ball was hit hard enough, and that couldn't turn it because Brantley was down on his feet. So he couldn't get much on the throw.
Carlos Santana has walked twice, singled, and hit into a double play. Aviles takes off. Here's the throw by Lucroy, not in time.
Great.
Good
First
jump by
move.
Aviles.
Yeah, it was. First move, take off, and steals it easily.
Just the second steal this year for Mike.
That was going on first movement. With 2 outs, why not?
He's in the scoring position now.
Great jump.
Hit hard, fair, just inside the chalk and down the left field line. Aviles scores easily. Santana into second with an RBI double as the Indians get a big 2-out RBI hit here in the ninth to make it a 7-4 lead.
Yeah, you like that. There's that extra run right there where Santana smokes this ball down the third baseline, got a pitch to his liking, middle in. And after the stolen base, Aviles can come cruising home. That gets the Indians their 7th run and a 3-run cushion for the closer, Cody Allen. And still, they're going to walk Gomes intentionally now to get to Brandon Moss.
The 2-out RBI single or RBI double for Santana gives him 15 2-out RBIs on the year, and that is the most on the Indians ball club. It is an area where they have had their troubles trying to get those tough 2-out RBI hits. So Gomes intentionally walked, and up comes Moss. They want the left-on-left matchup. Also, with that double by Santana, the Indians have drawn even with Milwaukee in hits. That didn't seem possible when Milwaukee had 8 hits in the first 2 innings of the game. The way they came out swinging, you kind of felt like, oh, this could be a long day at the office.
Well, it looked like it early, didn't it?
But to the credit of the Indians bullpen, Rick, they've been outstanding.
They have been great. They've been able to continue to put zeros on the board after they were down 4-1. It allowed that offense to come back. They finally tied in the 3rd on Brantley's home run. They've been able to add single runs in the 5th, the 7th, and now the 9th.
Moss chopper foul. Tough hop, but boy, the ball boy stayed right with it like it was no big deal. It's a grizzled veteran down there.
Well, he's got the left-hander on the first base side of the, first baseman. He's got the helmet on.
You're saying that's good managing right there.
Yeah, that is. That's the scouting report.
Whoever positions the ball boy.
Because he doesn't have to turn to make the throw. The right-hander would have to spin to make the throw back in.
Moss fouls it right back. I wonder if Jim Folk is aware that that's a position. You need a defensive strategist out there for your ball boy.
We are going to keep our eye on it this homestand.
Yeah.
I have noticed in the past, though, a lot of right-handers are down the right field line.
2 on, 2 out.
I'm waiting for your phone to start buzzing.
Now the 2-2 to Moss. High pop. That's going to find the seats. High fly ball, right field. Hara back on the track and makes the catch. Moss almost dialed long distance here in the ninth. Indians do get another run home. They lead at 7-4. Bottom of the ninth is next. Seven 4. Bottom of the ninth. And Cody Allen will try to save it for Cleveland. He's got to go through the tough part of the lineup. 2, 3, 4 due up for the Brew Crew. Cody looking for his 20th save of the year. Defensively, the Indians have Mike Aviles now in left field after he pinch hit for Murphy. And hey, that's what Terry Francona wanted. He wanted another run.
Yeah, of course.
That's the way it worked out.
Well, the way. Keep shooting for more. And they did get that run. Allen coming off an outing on Sunday in Cincinnati where he blew a save, but he went an inning and a third, had 3 hits and allowed the 1 run. Trying to close it out here before the Indians head home for a 4-game series against the White Sox.
out of play. Cody Anderson started today's game with 2 2/3 innings. He allowed 4 runs on 10 hits. It was one of those weird games for him where Milwaukee was aggressive and they were pounding everything. I mean, he gave up 10 hits, but only 1 was an extra base hit. So 9 singles and 1 home run.
Yeah. A lot of 2-out hits.
Yeah, that was
off of him today. Couldn't get out of the inning.
Austin Adams came on and went an inning and a third, scoreless, struck out a couple. Ryan Webb a scoreless inning with a strikeout. McAllister 2 really good scoreless innings, struck out 3. And Brian Shaw worked a scoreless 8th inning. So the Indians bullpen has been terrific here today. Now it's Cody Allen in the ninth. A 1-2 pitch. Lucroy gets a pitch up in the zone. It's at the deep right field. Moss back. He can't make the play. And Lucroy is into second base with a leadoff double. That's one of those spots in this ballpark. If you haven't played here much, you got the wall and it juts out, gets a little deeper right where he was. As Rick, it looked like he got turned around and wasn't sure how much room he had.
Yeah, that's true. That's part of being at this ballpark. Look at, he turned and he knew he was getting close to that wall. And that's just not from playing here. Look, you go back in and it's cut out and the wall's right there. That's a tough play because that ball was hit hard. It was on a line and you can't take your eye off it to take a peek of where you're at with the wall. So it goes as a double.
And now Milwaukee moves the tying run to the on-deck circle. Carlos Gomez 1 for 4. He has struck out 3 times. Last night he walked 3 times. Tonight, or today, 3 times a strikeout victory.
That's why that run in the top half of the ninth makes it so big, because now if they don't score, the tying run would be at the dish.
Waves at 1. It's 0-2.
Looked like it was in slow motion.
It sure did.
The bottom dropped out of that curveball. It disappeared. And he couldn't stop and swing, and just continued.
The 0-2.
Indians trying to end that Brewers streak of wins here.
Yep.
What is it, 8?
8 in a row.
8 in a row.
The 2-2. Fastball and blew it by him. Gomez strikes out for the 4th time today. 1 down in the ninth.
Nothing. I'm not going to trick you. Here you go. There's a fastball, and it's by you. Looks like he lost his top hand on the bat. Or was it the bottom hand? Bottom hand came off.
After trying to get him to chase a couple of breaking balls, he just went right at him with the express. Now Adam Lynn. Lynn, a 2-run homer in the first, an RBI single in the second. Broken bat hit in the 4th, and he flied out to right field in the 6th inning. Left field near the line. That's a fair ball. Lucroy will come home to score. And now the tying run will come to the plate the rest of the inning for Milwaukee.
Boy, what an afternoon by Lynn. Adam Lynn, he is 4 for 5. He has 4 RBI. And he keeps it rolling. That's his 20th double. And he got on a high fastball and just takes it the other way. Perfectly placed. So he will change places with Lucroy. It is now a 7-5 game with 1 out here in the 9th.
And Aramis Ramirez, 1 for 4 today, the batter. Hit in the hole, base hit. Lynn can't score though. They'll have to stop at third base. And now Milwaukee has the tying run at first and the winning run now at the plate.
Get a pinch runner coming on for Ramirez.
Yeah, the way we saw him run the bases early in the game, that's not surprising.
No, not late in the game. You take him out, you pinch run him. We'll see who.
Hector Gomez.
Okay, another Gomez comes out. So the Brewers with 17 hits on the afternoon. They have 3 in the inning. 2 doubles, a single. Runners at the corners, 1 out.
Chris Davis is 1 for 4 here today. You don't think of Cody as being a ground ball pitcher, but boy, what he wouldn't give for a ground ball right at a middle infielder.
Oh boy, wouldn't that be the key after the Indians have hit into so many in the series. 8. The Brewers have grounded into a couple today as well.
Davis went trying to end it with one big swing.
Well, he thought he was going to get a fastball after Ramirez put the first ball in play. You see how aggressive they've been all series on that first pitch. He was guessing fastball. Cody throws a breaking ball, and you get ahead of him. You get him to swing and miss. I was going to say, you don't really have to throw him a strike until you see how patient this guy wants to be.
Chris Davis on the year is just 8 for 35 with a runner in scoring position.
He did check it.
The 1-1 fastball, low and away. Hector Gomez, the pinch runner at first base. He's the tying run. Three balls and a strike. Gene Segura waits on deck. Three out of the 4 that Cody has faced all have hits in the inning. And a 3-1 pitch, tossed to first instead. With that being the tying run, would you expect Counsell to be aggressive here?
Well, he could, but I don't think he will. Davis, a guy that can swing and miss a lot.
Runner holds, chopper to third. They're showing a second for 1. On to first, a double play ends the game. Cody Allen gets the save, his 20th of the year, and the Indians survive for a 7-5 win over Milwaukee to split the 2-game series. Tribe with the win goes to 45-48. And Austin Adams gets the win. It's his first major league victory with an inning and a third of scoreless relief here today. Boy, is this ever what the doctor ordered.
Well, you wanted the ground ball and just had to come on a 3-1 count. Urshela gives a good feed over to Kipnis, and they turn it. Game ending. Just what the Indians needed to get out of here with a split.
The losing pitcher today is Kyle Loesch. He goes to 5-11, and Milwaukee is now 42-53 on the season. And the Indians snap an 8-game losing streak against the Brewers that dates back way too long to remember.
Yes, it certainly does.
Tribe gets a win over Milwaukee here at Miller Park to split the 2-gamer, and now it's back home to Cleveland. 7-5 is the final score. We'll greet you tomorrow night from Progressive Field when the Indians take on the Chicago White Sox. Trevor Bauer against Jeff Samardzija. For Rick Manning and Andre Knott, I'm Matt Underwood. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. Indians Live is next.